Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Geeks with Wives podcast. This is episode number 153. We got the whole gang together tonight. I'm your host, Jeff Gordon. I'm joined by my co-hosts tonight, the owner of Geeks with Wives, Joe Barhoom. How you doing,
I,
Joe?
I just pay the bills. You guys own the soul and the heart. Geek
Okay,
supplies.
I like that. I like that. And we are also joined by associate editor, Andrew Barton. What's going on, Andrew?
Well, if we are the soul and heart, unfortunately, I think that makes one of us soulless and heartless. I'm not saying names, but I think it may be the next person to be introduced.
Wow, man, calling him out. Kenny Newville, the man with the social media plan. How you doing? Are you soulless and heartless?
I'm soulless and heartless, but not beerless.
Well,
I,
good. I'm
I,
glad. I'm glad you got something to hold you over throughout the
I
podcast
brought
tonight.
along some alcohol to dull the edge of my sharp knives that I'm about to whip out for this topic.
Yes, and by the way, when he's talking about the topic tonight, he's talking about this new 3DS that got announced last week. Completely blindsided by Nintendo. Can't believe it, but I don't think anybody was expecting it, and that's why there's such a huge uproar about it. Some people are happy about it, some people are not happy, and we're going to talk about it tonight. And I just, I challenge you guys to guess how Kenny feels about it. Just take a gander and just wonder, how does that man feel about the good old new 3DS? So,
And
Well, it's typical Kenny. It's typical Kenny.
yeah.
well,
No one can have nice things with this guy.
since I own social media for Geeks with Wives, if you want to go ahead and tweet at us what you think my opinion of the new 3DS is, then we'll be giving away a brand new code for absolutely nothing. But you will definitely have bragging rights, and you can definitely say that you're a Geeks with Wives fan because you'll know my opinion.
I like it. I like it. Well, before we get into that, though, guys, because we've got a whole lot to say on that topic, but what we have not talked about yet are the games that we're playing, and we always like to talk about that. So I thought we would kick it off tonight with the favorite redhead of Geeks with Wives, the favorite ginger, Andrew. What game are you playing right now?
Well, actually, I've been playing a lot of Bravely Default, shaking it up. I know I've been talking a lot about Kingdoms of Amalur, so we're going to go with a completely different kind of RPG, I guess. But I've been playing a lot of Bravely Default, so I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. It's carries on a lot in the same vein of the Final Fantasy III for kind of the old school NES SNES style Final Fantasy. So I'm really enjoying it. I think I feel like I'm not very far in, but I'm worried that I'm actually much further than I thought I was, just because I've been logging so many hours and they just seem to be disappearing into the game. But it's a heck of a lot of fun. Don't you think, Jeff?
Oh yeah, I reviewed it and I loved it a lot. I love the idea of the Brave and default system where you can go ahead and take a couple of extra turns right away, at the risk of losing some, on the next round. And I really like that a lot. The story is pretty cool. I like it. I mean, it's typical Final Fantasy. There's
Yeah.
crystals that are dying, and you've got to go bring them back to life. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how you feel by the end of the game, because I do agree, when you're getting, you feel like you're almost done with the game, and then they, I'm not going to ruin anything, but they throw a twist in there, and like you realize you're really only like halfway through it. So,
Oh, good.
yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm in chapter 2 right now. I'm trying not to do anything too spoilery because the game is less than a year old still. But I'm in the water flower place. Um, so I haven't done a lot there. Like you said about the battle system, I'm really kind of digging that. I feel like it's a little bit it's a little bit like playing with bank loaning mortgage system almost, and that I can almost like try to mortgage out the future and the battle and try to finish things before uh, the enemy actually gets to do a strike by taking up a whole bunch of turns right at the very beginning of the battle. You're allowed to take up to 4 turns in a fight, and then if you use all your turns and the fight's not over, you're basically just standing there without blocking. Or you can block a bunch and save up turns and then kind of release Hell Fury. So that's kind of the battle system there, and it's really kind of fun. It's an interesting, neat little kind of twist. I really hate it when I, just try to spend all of my points to try to wipe out the battle in a single turn up front before the enemy gets to strike, and then all of my guys expend all their turns, and then the enemy has just like 2 hit points left. And then I just sit there for 4 turns while the enemy just wails on my guys who aren't blocking because I just couldn't quite finish them off.
Yeah.
I'm like, no! But, man, the battle is a heck of a lot of fun. The job system is really kind of fun. Much like the earlier Final Fantasies, you can kind of switch jobs almost at will, not in the middle of fights, but elsewhere. And so I'm kind of digging that and trying to train up the fights. One of the things that I wish that they had done, because you can have like a secondary job going around, I wish that there was a way to gain experience points in your secondary job. So that way if I have a character, like the Thief class I unlocked, and man, I really wish that I could, level up that Thief guy so I could steal items better. But the thieves just don't deal very much damage, so it's almost kind of, letting the thief languish there for a while and not really, be productive and contribute to the team if I'm trying to level up his skills. But then on the other hand, if I have somebody who's really powerful, it would be nice if I could just like set thief to their secondary job and kind of have that slowly gaining up a little bit. Unfortunately, it doesn't really do that. But maybe in Bravely Second, which I understand is actually announced to come to the United States next year for the 3DS. So, man, that would be nice. But at this point in time, I'm totally sold on getting the sequel already, just based off of being like maybe a third of the way, half of the first game.
Well, awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what you think about it by the time you get to the end of the game. There's a twist.
Jeff, actually...
There's a twist.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the twist now. And actually, I wanted to ask you, did you get to play very much with the village building minigame kind of thing?
Yes, the village building, it is cool. You can basically, your main character, his town gets destroyed. Isn't that sad, Joe and Kenny? I don't want to leave you guys out. Isn't that terrible that this guy's town gets destroyed?
Once I heard Final Fantasy, I stopped listening.
Oh, no. All right. Well, anyways, so
there's a pixelated tear rolling down my cheek.
Okay. Well, you just keep those pixelated tears in your beverage over there that you got. You let it take away your sorrows there, Kenny. But so anyways, this town, you can build this town, and really what speeds it up is if you street pass. And the more you street pass, the quicker different parts of your town get built, and the more the town gets built, you get access to different items that you wouldn't have access to if you weren't doing that. So it's a nice little kind of mini game or little side quest that takes place throughout the entirety of the game. The only problem is what do you do when you live in an area that you don't get the street pass a lot with a lot of people?
Yeah.
So that's the only problem.
You can actually get internet friends to do it for you. You can get up to 3 or 4 a day, I think. And so that's what I've been doing to kind of build my village, because I when I started playing the game, I needed to run to the mall with my wife, and so I put my 3DS in my pocket. My one friend, and by getting online, I've actually been able to build up my population to 16. So, I'm kind of digging that, and that's a fun way for like me, having a kind of a crazy schedule. I can set the townspeople to start rebuilding buildings and that kind of thing, and just leave for 6 or 8 hours and come back and actually have like, hooray! I made progress on my game. Yeah, I feel good about myself. So I just think that's kind of a nifty way to keep the game going, almost like mobile game style. When I've got to actually go out into the world and be like, business, business, business. So. I think that's just a fun characteristic of the game that most games don't have.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, like I said, I'm right there with you. Excited about Bravely Second, and I'm also excited to see and hear about what Joe is playing. Joe, what's going on in video game land for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit different for me right now. I've been traveling a whole bunch. I feel like I say that every week, but I guess my traveling cadence has been the same for a long time. But I feel like I'm traveling a lot more, so I decided to treat myself to a new tablet. And for those of you who know me really well, I get a new tablet like every month because I have tablet ADD, which I don't think is a me problem. I think it's a tablets just aren't that useful problem. So here's the deal. I got myself a Kindle Fire. This is the HDX that you can clearly see in my pixelated screen. And of course, one of the first things that I did is I checked out the App Store. With the Amazon Kindle, the App Store is completely different from the typical Android platform. So it's built on Android, the operating system is, but it's a different skin. And so Amazon, in an effort to claim and moderate pricing and provide a much more tailored experience for their customers, they have their own store. You can install apps from the Google Play network, which is typical for Android devices, if you change a few settings on the tablet. But I thought, hey, I'm going to try to do this the way Amazon intended. So I went and did it that way. And I found 3 games that I thought I would play. One game is called Dungeon Quest, which is a Diablo knockoff. Perfect for me right now because I'm playing Diablo a lot. And it's always fun to have that type of experience on your mobile device. Although I've never found one that I absolutely love. So far, this one's pretty cool. It has really good graphics. And the controls are pretty easy on a tablet. And then additionally, Lego Star Wars something. I can't see the title because there's not enough characters on the screen. But it's an old school style shooter. It's like a 2D shooter in the vein of kind of like a Resogun or Super Stardust Delta, except instead of 3D, you're just going linearly. And you can either play as the light side or the dark side, so Rebels, the Empire. So you have different equipment, and you're just trying to blow up stuff and collect upgrades. It's pretty neat. I really like playing that. And then the third game is a surprise to me because for some reason I haven't played this yet. Season 2 of The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the video game. I never played a single episode of it. So I picked up the first episode is free. And then coincidentally, it was on sale on Steam. You get the whole season for $10. So I haven't quite put a lot of time into this. See if that sale might come to Amazon. But overall, I'm really into this tablet. And as far as gaming goes, I haven't done a ton on it, but I've done some. Otherwise, my gaming has been with Diablo, and I've developed a newfound love for Diablo ever since Reaper of Souls came out, and now the new patch 2.1. I had a friend come over a few days ago, and he's a Diablo fanatic. The guy knows everything. We all have a friend like that, right? This guy knows it all. He's probably put in 600 or 700 hours into Diablo 3. And he actually, his name is Matt. He used to be a contributor to Geeks with Wise many years ago, but he went back to school, so he took a little bit of a break. Matt was showing me things that didn't exist, like transmogrification, where you can change the appearance of an item, so you can completely customize the appearance of your own character. And then also, he showed me the enchanting, so you could take specific characters and just kind of re-roll, specific characteristics or attributes of an item and read them, so gamble. and that was pretty neat too. So it completely changed the way I'm playing the game. So that's pretty much been it for me. I'm really looking forward to Shadows of Mordor. So that's sort of the big next game that I'm going to play. And in the meantime, I'm happy to tell you guys that there's been some movement on the Stomping Land. Have you guys heard about the Stomping Land?
Not. Tell me about it.
No, sir.
Let's tell you all about it, Jeffrey. Let me tell you all about it. So the Stomping Land is a survival game, MMO, a lot like DayZ, except it takes place in an odd era where man coexists with dinosaurs. And there are these procedurally generated worlds, and you have to find recipes and figure out ways to survive. So you figure out the recipe for a bow and arrow, right? Then you can upgrade your bow and arrow. You figure out how to make metal items and things like that. This was a Kickstarter campaign earlier in the year. It cost me $15. I backed it. It looked cool, and it was a way to dip my toe into Kickstarter. And wouldn't you know it, the game was very successful. They wanted 20,000. They ended up getting 100,000. It went on to Steam Early Access. I started playing it a month ago, put a couple hours into it, thought, meh, it'll get better, I hope. And the developer hasn't said a thing since May, so Valve has pulled it from the Steam store. So now you can no longer buy the Stomping Land, and no one knows what's happening with the game. It's just gone. Thin air.
So the developers didn't say, like, they sent like no form of communication out. That's crazy.
Nothing. It just completely vanished. That was it. And no one knows what's going on. I mean, there's some speculation that they're porting it to Unreal Engine or something like that, just a different engine, but no one knows for certain. So as of right now, there is no Stomping Land for Joe.
You know what? I have a theory. I think I know what happened. I think the guy from Turok ended it.
What is his name? Is it Turok?
Yeah, I think so. Oh yeah, Turok.
His name after the guy? Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, he doesn't like dinosaurs. He doesn't want to coexist. So I think that he showed up and he took care of business.
That may have happened, Jeff. It may have happened.
I don't want to.
I mean, you hate to see stuff like this happen. You know?
Yeah, I don't want to spread any rumors, but I mean, I think it's logical, for sure. But so
yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question real quick for you. You know, with the Kindle Fire, you're playing on that. Do you play a lot of mobile games, or is this something that's kind of like new for you? Or are you jumping into something new?
That's a good question. I used to. When mobile games first really started getting to their stride, I was playing mobile games on my iPhone, on all the various tablets that I've owned. A lot of these I buy for review, by the way. I'm really not that weird. But, I played a lot of them, and at the end of the day, I just kept coming back to, why am I doing this, or on my 3DS? Because certainly the battery life isn't very good to where I could play a mobile game on my phone for 30 minutes and still have battery at the end of the day. And with tablets, it was kind of the same thing. For a while, they didn't have very good processing power, so games were choppy. That's certainly not the case with the Amazon Kindle Fire HDX. But even still, battery life is a day, 2 days if you're using it for video and note-taking, and you're using it throughout the day that's intended to be used for. So I don't want to kill my battery on a video game that isn't as good as the games that I can play on a dedicated mobile device, like the Vita or the 3DS.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, it's, I don't want to run down the battery, and I definitely don't want to lose on the experience end of it. And I'm kind of experiencing that with a game that I'm playing right now for the iPad. I mentioned it last week, but it's called Star Wars Commander. And yeah, and it's like Clash of Clans, and nobody had played Clash of Clans last week, and it was funny because I was like, hey, I haven't either. So, but yeah, it's like that Star Wars answer, or the Star Wars version of Clash of Clans. And if you're not familiar with Clash of Clans,
yeah.
So Clash of Clans is you're basically building up and fortifying your fortress because you're fighting against orcs, and then you can join clans and you can like share troops to help each other defend your fortresses. So and I was never really interested in that game, even though I had friends that played it. I was like, I don't, there's nothing really that kind of grips me about it. But when I heard that there's a Star Wars version of it, well, shoot, man, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so like I'm definitely going to try it out. And I've got to tell you guys, I'm terrible at this game. Like I'm absolutely horrible. In the first week, my fortress has been leveled. Like I was so proud of myself. You have like a 3-day period to like fortify it without anybody being able to attack it. I joined the Empire, the might of the Empire. I thought this is going to secure, my dominant place in the galaxy, but no, it didn't work out. The rebels showed up with their Wookiees, with their freaking land speeders, and rebel soldiers with their giant helmets on, and I mean they just leveled my fortress or my base. So
I don't think you're bad at it. I haven't played, I haven't seen the build, but it's not that you're bad at it or that I'm bad at it, because I had similar experiences with Clash of Clans. I played that for a long time. It's that other people have so much time and apparently so much power, AC power, that they can just put hours upon hours into it. Plus, there's the whole paywall thing, right? So people will spend a lot of money on these games and become OP. I had the same exact experience with Clash of Clans, which is why I quit. I figured, what's the point of chasing my tail? Furthermore, this reminds me of a game called Banished. This is a PC game that you can find on Steam. It's really, really cool, but it's not online enabled. You're playing against yourself or the AI of the computer. So you're building you're building a world, like a little city, kind of through seasons, but not through ages, like a Age of Empires would progress or a civilization. You're just sort of trying to deal with the things that would happen if you had those particular resources in a mountainous area or a waterous area, and you have to grow certain crops and feed people and that type of thing. It's kind of like the Sims versus City, that kind of thing. And it's the same exact thing. I'm sitting here playing this game. I put like 18 hours, 20 hours into it. I'm thinking, what am I doing? Right? I'm trying to figure out the best way to play this game so I can survive for 900 years or however long it is until you finally win. But then I go online, I watch a tutorial, and there's people who have put hundreds of hours into it, or perhaps just figured out how to game the system, and they'll explain to you very clearly, oh, this is how you build roads, this is how you build farms, this is how you do this and this and this, here's how you arrange them to make your people move the fastest. I'm like, I don't want to know all of this. I don't want to be at that point. If that's what it takes to beat the game, then forget it. So bringing it back to your Star Wars example, which is a game, by the way, I did download for my iPhone. It's like, instead of the AI, it's other people, but it's the same exact thing, and I'm never going to be at that level. If I could play against you, Jeff, right, or I can challenge Andrew, and it's just my friends, where I know you guys aren't going to spend 100 hours playing it, so we're probably always going to have the exact amount of exposure as one another, then I'm more willing to do it, because we're going to be at the same level. One of us might win one day, the other will win the next, and it's going to be fun instead of just this random people just invading and they spend $1,000 so they're really good. That's, to me, it's not skill.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. And like I said, I mean, I wanted to try it because I'm always worried that I'm just like limiting like my perspective when it comes to video games, because I just play on console all the time, and I envy the PC master race. And so I've always feel like I'm kind of on the outside of certain things. So I'm like, I'll try something new. So I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to try to get better at Star Wars Commander. But yeah, it was a very discouraging first run. And somebody who also looks discouraged tonight. I don't know what the problem is, but Kenny, are you okay? I haven't heard from you in a while. Are you alive, Kenny?
I'm just sitting back listening to the conversation. This I'm gonna break the fourth wall, as it were, here, and say that Hangouts they're difficult. I don't want to talk over you guys because I want the listener to have some enjoyment on their commute or their evening before they go to bed. So you guys are doing a great job. You guys were answering all the questions I had, so I just figured I'd let you run with it, and then butt in when you want me.
I I want you, Kenny.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready
I
to
want you.
play.
What game are you playing right now?
Well, I tell you what, good sir, I'm playing a combination of things right now. And that combination is about to get even deeper with this latest PlayStation Plus update for September. Ooh, girl. Vita love. I'm playing Rocksmith 2014 right now, and I've wanted to teach myself or learn guitar in some. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we
Now
lost
we
your audio
can.
for a second there.
Weird, weird. See the Hangouts. It heard me talking bad about it, and then it muted me. All right, my hands are off. I just want you to see that my hands are in plain sight right here if you're watching this live. Anyways, got some Rocksmith 2014. Been wanting to play guitar for quite some time now. Never really was able to stick with the books or the audio tapes, and don't really have time for a tutor. So I decided to pick up some Rocksmith 2014. I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I am going to be doing a weekly piece for the 60-day challenge. So if you don't know, Rocksmith 2014 is basically like Guitar Hero, except for you use a real guitar. And the idea is if you play an hour a day for 60 days, it's going to get you from I don't know which end of the guitar goes where to playing in a garage band and not being awful. So I'm going to be doing that, and you can check out my progress on that every week on geekswithwives.com. But what I do want to talk about tonight, because I think the couple of you guys have picked this up, and it's already been mentioned once, is I ended up picking up Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition for PlayStation 4, and I'm really glad that I did. I was concerned originally that since I have it had it for PS3, I was just going to be buying the same game twice, but that's not the case. It's so far from the case. With Reaper of Souls and with the latest updates, the game feels like a whole new game. I mean, really, and I was talking with Joe about it the other day, I almost feel like the difference between Diablo 3, even on PS3, where there was several updates and positive changes, Diablo 3 on PS3 to the Ultimate Evil Edition for PS4 is similar in the difference between Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. Like, that's how drastic it is, in my opinion. The gameplay is so much more smooth. The visuals are greatly improved because, again, this is the console version we're talking about. So PC version, you guys probably had that all along, but with the higher drop rate, the Nemesis system on the PlayStation 4, where basically if you are killed by an enemy, that enemy then portals to one of your friends on your PSN network and then tries to kill them. And every time that enemy defeats one of you, it gets stronger, drops more loot when it's destroyed. It's just it's a great addition to the game, which a lot of people scorned when it first released. But I feel like if you're a Diablo fan, you owe it to yourself to check out Ultimate Evil Edition on Xbox One or PlayStation 4, or go ahead and get Reaper of Souls on PC. And I understand this latest update's pretty cool as well.
Yeah. So what's that system called again, Kenny? Where the bad guys get better or stronger?
It's called the Nemesis system. Mm-hmm.
Nemesis. So in Shadows of Mordor, they have a very similar system where a regular Shmo orc, right, just a regular orc, nothing fancy about him, just a minion. If he delivers the killer blow on the player character, then he now becomes more powerful. He gets a reputation amongst the other orcs, and he can climb the ranks, and he can get better, and better skills and stronger, faster, all that stuff. So they have kind of a similar system, although I do think it's confined to the single-player storyline. But it's exciting, isn't it? It's a pretty cool idea.
It's a great idea, and while I'm very interested to see how it works out in Shadows of Mordor, I know with the Diablo system, it just works flawlessly with this ever active theme. I mean, so it works in single player. I guess I don't know if a Nemesis can spawn from a multiplayer match. Maybe it can, but like for example, I'll just be playing single player, and all of a sudden a portal will open up, a demon will pop through, and it'll say Nemesis, and it'll give me, killer of blah blah blah, and then you kill him, and not only does it give me cool drops and loot, but it actually also gives me the option of picking up a present to then send to the person it originally killed. So today I defeated Diablo, and two gifts popped out. So apparently two of my friends died to Diablo, and because I defeated him, I send them gifts.
That's very kind of you, Kenny. I actually have a question for you, though. Have you gotten to play any with Jeremy?
I have not. I don't. I play irregularly at strange hours, and I usually try to play offline. So if I spurn your invitation, chances are it's because I'm actually playing upstairs with choppy frame rate on my Vita while balancing Catherine and bending to the will of my wife. In case you're listening to this, I enjoy.
Hey, Catherine's your daughter. For our listeners who may not remember that.
If you're a listener and you don't know that, you need to follow me on Twitter because I make reference to her all the time. I also call her C, and Stu takes offense to that. I don't know why, or he gets his jollies off of that.
So one of the questions that I have, I played Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 quite frequently back in the day. I haven't played any of Diablo 3 yet. So just the way I remember playing it and the feel and everything, I just have a hard time imagining what that's like really with a controller. So can you talk a little bit about that, Kenny? How it handles, if it feels comfortable, that kind of thing?
I certainly can. Well, first, let me give you a brief history of my Diablo experience. So I played Diablo 1. There's my CD. I played Hellfire. There's my CD. I played Diablo 2. There's my CDs.
Yes.
My expansion pack is in there, by the way. I don't have the original jewel case. And then I'm not digging out Diablo 3 for the PC. I have that as well. I've played Diablo 3 on the PC. I've played it on the PS3. I've played it on the PS4. I've not played it on the Xbox One. But I will tell you this right now, and I told Joe this the other day. The console version, in my opinion, is the best version because of the controller. So I told Joe if he hasn't experienced Diablo 3 with a controller, he needs to figure out a way to pair that with his PC. And he told me, well, I don't want to deal with an in-between software. And I get that. And that's why I think that the console version is the best version. Because all I have to do is press my PS button, power on my PS4, grab my DualShock 4, and play Diablo. And I'm going to tell you right now that it's a better experience than a mouse and keyboard. And I never really expected to say that.
Yeah, but Kenny, here's one problem with it. With my travel schedule, I wouldn't want to take my PlayStation with me. Tonight, I got to play Diablo for 30 minutes before the podcast, and I'm out of town, away from my PS4.
Well, and that's why they need to do away with the whole crap that the Vita is a good alternative with remote play. Is a good alternative to just a Vita-specific Diablo game. Or, since they're able to port your characters between Diablo 3 on the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 4, why they don't use Battle.net as just a persistent cloud service and just make it cross-platform. I understand the implications with that, with the PC version getting updates quicker than the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One do. But perhaps in the future, given their architecture is so similar, we might have a little bit more of a on-par patching system that would allow that. Because I definitely think Diablo is the type of game where you need it 24/7. If you're sitting on your couch, you got to play Diablo. You got 2 hours, play some Diablo. You got 15 minutes, play some Diablo. It doesn't matter where you are. You can boot up, kill some dudes, persistent save, level up, go about your business.
Yeah, I agree. I think it must be a technical issue because maybe when they first designed the game, they didn't think that it would end up being a console game. Who knows exactly? We all know it had a bit of a troubled development cycle, but that has to be the reason. It must be a technical thing. I bet you with Diablo 4, that at that point there'll be some type of play it anywhere, any way you want. It'll be easy, hopefully.
And again, I'm not asking that they take away from the PC system. So there might be a lot of PC players out there who are saying, "Oh, that's crap. We don't want to wait for the console guys." I'm telling you right now that if you don't understand the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One are low, mid to mid-level PCs, then you need to do some fact checking because it really is. It's so close right now that there shouldn't really be any latency, but it's okay. It's the first generation. Let's also not forget that Diablo 1 was actually on the PlayStation 1. So this isn't the first Diablo to come to consoles.
We should probably forget that it was on the PlayStation 1.
But it happened. I'm not saying it happened well, but the point is, I think that people, again, there are people out there that are very much console fanboys. That goes all the way across to PC. People who covet their crappy 3DSs. So I'm not interested in raining on those people's parades. I am very interested, however, in a company that really, Blizzard doesn't really have any stock in PC sales. Like they really don't. So why not just make it across the platform? Look at me. All right, I bought Diablo 3 on PC, on PS3, and I picked it up on PS4. Enjoy my $180. You jerkwads. Take my money.
Wow, strong words.
More strong words are coming, apparently.
They are, sirs.
How's that drink coming along?
I still have some left for our topic.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Kenny, because first of all, I brought a visual aid tonight. People who get to watch the show know that I like visual aids. So I'm holding up my 3DS right now, 3DS XL. And earlier last week in Japan, there was a direct for the 3DS. And one of the highlights of it was that they talked about, of course, Smash Brothers for the 3DS. But at the end of it, they announced a new 3DS handheld console. And I'm going to run down real quick. I'm going to give you the rundown on some of the specs real quick, guys, so we can go ahead and get this out of the way so that we can know what this thing is. If people are listening or watching tonight, you're like, heard about it, but I don't really know what it is. This is what basically are the main features of it. Okay, so there are new shoulder buttons, ZL and ZR shoulder buttons, and they're going to be right next to the, of course, L and R buttons. Nothing too crazy there. There is going to be a new circle pad, and it's going to be right here. There is a faster processing chip, which will allow more powerful games to be played. That's something that a lot of people are frustrated about. And so, and there is a normal 3DS version and a 3DS XL version. And right now, this is only in Japan, so we don't know when it's coming to the States, presumably sometime in 2015. But I just want to get you guys' opinion. Are you happy about this, upset about it? How you feel?
I don't know if we should start with Kenny, because Kenny has a very, very strong opinion on this. Let me give you my opinion, which is...
toothy grin for those of you who are listening.
My opinion is it's strong, but it's not quite as... It won't be delivered as strongly as how Kenny will do it. So let's start with the additional processing power. I'm all for it. That's great. I have no problem with that. Nintendo wants to refresh the system. Great. Nintendo historically does this. They do it every time they have a mobile system. There was I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you had the Game Boy Advance, you had the Game Boy Advance Micro, and along the way with the different iterations, the Game Boy SP, you lose some things like backwards compatibility, or the screens are different sizes. So the Micro had a sharper screen, but it was smaller than the others. It's okay to do stuff like that when it's minimal. But with the new buttons, right, particularly the second analog stick, the nub, and then the two shoulder buttons, now you're crossing a line, in my opinion. Nintendo has now introduced hardware that may only allow that may enable certain games to be developed, and those certain games may only be playable, the way as intended by the developers, on the new 3DS. So when mom or dad walk into the video game store, to buy the console for their kid at Christmas time. Hey, I'm here to get a 3DS. I heard about this thing. Oh, did you mean the 2DS with no 3D? No, it has to have 3D. Okay, great. Well, here, you know what? This one's cheaper. It's the 3DS. It's the first one that came out, and it has all these great games. Oh, great. What's this one? Oh, Street Fighter. Okay, I'm gonna get that. Awesome. Take it home. Can't play Street Fighter on the 3DS because it's only for the new 3DS. Right? Slight change in the name that could throw off the entire system. And you're gonna have a lot of kids who are trying to fit a round peg into a square hole. And I think that is the big fail on Nintendo's part. This is too much of a leap for it to be acceptable by Nintendo's fans.
Andrew, you're a big Nintendo guy like me. What was your perception of it? What was your reception of it?
Well, I'm a little frustrated by it just because I don't have my visual aid with me, but I got the 3DS XL, the Zelda edition, the gold, pretty Triforce on it, beautiful. I got that in November when it came out. And so less than a year in, I'm finding out that something newer and better is going to be coming along here pretty quickly. And I'm a little disappointed by that. I would want to just stick with it, but if I wouldn't be able to play some of these new games that are coming out for it. That's really kind of the sticking point to me. That's really kind of the frustration I'm having. And I would maybe get around that if the very first game they didn't mention was Xenoblade Chronicles, which is a game that was on my wish list for years on the Wii, but I just can't afford the $98 to get it used. That's just a little ridiculous to me. So I really wish that there was there was a little bit more cross-compatibility there. Honestly, the very first thing that I thought of when people started talking about it is I'm trying to identify whether or not this is a full leap ahead in the console generation, or if this is just kind of like that half step. And I'm trying to figure that out. Is this going to be like the jump between the DS and the 3DS, or is this going to be like the jump between the DS and the DSi? Mm-hmm. Is this going to be just like one or two games that take advantage of it, but really 98% of the games that are coming out are actually going to be compatible on both systems? And that's really where I'm having a breakdown here trying to understand. And I don't think that's been very clearly communicated to us. In part because perhaps because the message wasn't actually intended for us. It was intended for a Japanese audience, and so there's certainly some kind of language barrier there, I'm sure. But
go ahead. Sorry.
But honestly, that's kind of where my sticking point is, and of course Nintendo is notoriously kind of a terrible communicator. So, it may be that I don't get my question answered until 6 or 9 months after this new system comes out in America, if it even does come out in America, because we don't know that it is yet.
Yeah, I was right there with you, and I was watching it as it was happening and as they were showing the actual direct, and I think there is nothing more frustrating than seeing this. New, like they're showing this new kind of 3DS, and you don't know anything that they're saying about it. Like, okay, like it looks like a different kind of handheld console. It looks like a 3DS, but apparently it's different. Like, and that was just confusing, first of all, and then seeing that they were playing Xenoblade Chronicles on there, that's what really took me back, and I was just like, wow, like if that's the kind of game that the 3DS will be able to play, like that's incredible. But then, yeah, I'm right there with you. Like they could really, really kind of ostracize some people from really not just buying this, but from really purchasing future Nintendo products. They're not really doing as well as they want to do with the Wii U, and so, my goodness, like now they're kind of possibly ruining the one good thing that they have right now in the 3DS. But one thing I do want to say is, do you guys, you have to have an install base, right, in order for developers to say, okay, we're going to make games for this. So, do you guys think that maybe that processing, that additional processing power, do you think that that's even going to make a difference, or do you think that developers will continue to make games like they've always made for the 3DS?
So I want to answer that question, but then I want to give my opinion on this since we've kind of gone off that. Since we're going to get into the specific, the weeds, because let me just say right now, there's a lot of weeds here. All right, there's not a lot of lush lawn. There's a lot of weeds, in my opinion. So let me just give that opinion, and then we'll weeds, WIIDS. Good job. So Joe, I'm citing my source there. And weed is exactly what somebody at Nintendo was probably on when they determined that it would be a good idea to take an already existing piece of hardware and add game-changing features to it, but not consider it the next console generation. So, okay, let's put this in perspective for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and disregard the fact that there are multiple colors. Let's just talk about models. You have the 3DS. You have the 3DS XL. You have the 2DS. Now you're about to have the 3DS redesign with more buttons, an extra analog stick, a different processor that we know of. That's it, that we know of. And then you're going to get the new 3DS XL. So by my count, that's 5 different hardware configurations in the same console generation. That's more configurations of consoles than Microsoft has put out over the entirety of their lifetime in the gaming business. Which isn't that long, but seriously.
Well, you're also not counting the fact that they've done redesigns on their consoles that include different hard drive sizes and that kind of thing as well.
Hard drive sizes are largely irrelevant when you can switch out. Aside from the Microsoft, like the Xbox 360, which needed a proprietary hard drive, we're talking about hard drive spaces. Hard drive doesn't really matter. It doesn't change the way you play a game. Now, if you talk about solid state versus disk on a PS3, don't shake your head at me. This is not up for debate. Joe, I need a hardware guy. Tell me right now if swappable hard drives on the 360 is anything close to what Nintendo is doing with their 3DS system right now.
No, it's whether or not it's close. I think it's irrelevant. It's not the same.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
It's not the same. But what you're saying is that the difference between a 3DS and a 3DS XL is a huge fundamental difference when it's really. It's basically just the screen size.
No, it's not just it's not just the screen size, Andrew. That's where you're wrong. I have a 3DS. I hate it. It's tiny. It's crampy. I don't like playing it. My screen falls over. There's a shiny finish on the screen on the regular 3DS. There's a matte finish on the 3DS XL. We can go on for days. But the point is, let's take out the XL. Let's take out the XL. Then let's do it. Let's take out the XLs. You've got the 3DS. You've got the 2DS, and now you've got the redesigned 3DS, which, in my opinion, is the biggest gaffe of them all because you're going to be adding 2 extra trigger buttons, a different processor, and 2 analog nubs. So a game is either going to take advantage of those features or it's not. But if it does, you're going to be spending extra development time to either program a way to obviously manipulate the game without those features. Or you're going to have a box that says exclusively for the 3DS BS edition or whatever it's called when it comes out. This is dumb. They should have taken their time, put their money towards a new console hardware iteration, and just moved forward and just called it good. Or maybe they shouldn't have because the 3DS is a success. So I really don't see what they're doing here.
So are you happy about it or not?
The funny thing about this is, Jeff, the minute that I saw this, my gut reaction was, okay, finally this is what I'm going to trade in my Zelda 3DS for. Because this is the ultimate edition of the 3DS. And then I thought about it, and I was like, or is it? Because, I'm sorry, I thought that I had the ultimate version of the 3DS. And then the XL came out, and I was thinking to myself, God, I'm a little fat sausage-fingered hand guy. I really want the 3DS XL, but I'm not going to trade and need a controller. And then the 2DS came out, and I was like, well, shit, I'm not getting that. And now this is coming out, and I'm like, well, this is legitimate, but this isn't the end. When is it going to end? That's my question.
Well, and I think part of the problem you're having, Kenny, is we don't know whether or not this is an iteration in the current generation, or if this is the next generation. Is this the 3DS to the original DS, or is this the DSi to the original DS? We don't know exactly how this is being broken out right now. You may feel incredibly differently about the entire console if we find out that it is actually a brand new generation, and you're all of a sudden you're getting the definitive version of that generation because it's basically the only thing in that generation right now.
I just think it's funny that there are people out there who complain, and somewhat legitimately, when they go and buy a game on a Tuesday night or a Monday night or a Tuesday morning, and they get home and they pop that game in their hard drive or in their console, and they've got to download and update, and they're like, "Man, why can't developers ship a final copy of their game? Why do they got to update all this stuff? I got to update all this crap all the time. You can't." This is what they're doing, but they're doing it with hardware. And it's hundreds of dollars down that the consumer has to plug down if they want the version. And I have a 3DS right now, but am I going to be able to play all the 3DS titles? My PS4 will guaranteed play every PS4 title that will come out in the foreseeable future. That's why I like console gaming compared to PC gaming. I don't have to upgrade my hard drive or my graphics card or my sound card or my whatever. But with this 3DS, this is a game changer. This is a total game changer.
But it may not be a game changer because Nintendo does have a habit of releasing hardware or accessories, and to a point Andrew made it earlier, one or two games take advantage of it, right? So it may not be a game changer. It has the potential to be one, as you and I see it, but it may not actually end up being one. So it's a risky gamble to buy it now.
The feeling I'm getting on things is that it almost seems to be as if Nintendo is trying to dip its toe into a new generation without kind of like running and doing a cannonball into the pool. Kind of giving people some of these features, and if people run with it, then yeah, sure, absolutely, it's a new generation. We'll throw the full weight behind it. The next handheld system. But if it's not, then it doesn't really take off. Well, then that's okay. The DSi had a better processor than the original 3DS, or than the original DS, and it had that camera thing, and it basically got 4 games that the original DS couldn't do, and basically it was all based around that camera. So,
but
it may be that what Nintendo is trying to do is dip its toes in and see if people all of a sudden take off with it, and if they take off with it, then yeah, sure, absolutely, this is the new generation, this is the way you got to go. But if it doesn't really take off, well then, oh, well, it's just an option for you to have, and people aren't making games for it anyway.
I kind of feel like the camera is a poor example because the camera was, it was an extra camera, but let's take it back and maybe go back to like the PlayStation 1 era when they had the analog controllers versus just the regular D-pad and 4-button controllers, and then you had games that you could not play with your old standard PlayStation controllers, and then you had to go buy a controller. But that was buying an accessory. Even the second analog to the 3DS was simply an accessory. But we're talking about a new machine here. I hope they're diving all in. I hope it's a new console generation, because either they've just wasted probably millions of dollars on R&D to get this new platform and manufacturing to get this new platform out on the market, and they're not going to fully take advantage of it, or the people that do have a 3DS and who bought the Circle Pad are totally getting screwed. Like Peter Vincent 19 on Twitter said, totally screwing over the mass amounts of the world who own a 3DS, and especially those who bought the Circle Pad. And I have to agree. I have no faith in Nintendo hardware right now until I don't know when. Maybe I'll buy it used, secondhand, after the iteration is done, and I know they won't be releasing anything more for it.
Well, I don't really see how they're necessarily screwing over the 3DS fans. The system has been out for 3.5, almost 4 years now. I don't necessarily know that they're screwing over people like they were when, say, the 3DS came out and 6 months later they had a huge price drop on it. That seems more like an actual case of screwing people over rather than, or screwing over the early adopters and the hardcore Nintendo fans.
So what you're saying is that Nintendo has a track record for screwing over its consumers.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that they had this one incident where they did, and now everybody is trying to attribute something else to it.
If I can just interrupt real quick.
You can't.
I want to shut. I'm the host. All right. I do what I want. No, but I just have been reading on it, and something that maybe this will kind of explain what Nintendo was thinking. Maybe it won't, but the actual logo for the new 3DS looks remarkably similar to the logo for Amiibo. And one of the things I didn't mention is that the bottom screen, this little guy right here, it's going to allow you'll just be able to put your Amiibo figurine on there, and it'll download in there. You won't have to buy like an extra thing to plug into your 3DS and put your Amiibo thing on there. So I think that this is also something that Nintendo is doing to help boost the, at least, the Amiibo figurines and how that's going to work with the Wii U and the 3DS. So maybe this is something that they're doing where they're trying to leverage the success and the popularity of the 3DS to try to get the word of Amiibo out there. So, I mean, I know that doesn't make anybody happy, but
I have different ideas here for what Nintendo could be doing. Again, since we have honestly really no clue, and it's just a lot of speculation right now. But another thing that we have a Nintendo Direct that is not in a language that any of the four of us actually speak. I'm probably the best at it, and I have no idea what they were talking about. So I don't want to.
Just look at the new 3DS. The A, B, X, Y buttons are the same color as the Super Nintendo controllers.
You heard it here first. This is the definitive edition. It will never get any better.
Super Nintendo games are coming to the Virtual Console. Bang.
Look, so let me
hold on, just so I can get my theory out here. Another thing that they could be doing is trying to lump all of the 3DS accessories into one system, so you don't have to buy the accessories. So you're not having to get
the second triggers, those second trigger accessories. Yeah, I haven't seen those.
So you don't have to get the giant boat thing for having the second circle kind of Amiibo reader that plugs into the system somehow, and that kind of thing. They may just be trying to throw that stuff into a single system, so that way, Kenny, you don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of accessories.
The accessories at least would pave a level playing field. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what this is about. This is about, because, okay, we talked about this when the 2DS released. Let's talk about this from a marketing standpoint. Nintendo's marketing team seriously is probably committing all types of hara-kiri right now. What are they supposed to do? They now have the 3DS, and they have the 2DS, and now they have the new one. Regardless of what we think about it as gamers, let's look at it as retail people. Joe, you and I talked about how this would be a nightmare to explain to parents with just the 2DS. Now you've got this other beast, this beast that's probably, because of its new hardware features, going to be a little bit more money at least, right? And you're going to have to explain to these people the difference between all of these different things. Whereas back in the day with the 360, all you had to do was say, this one has a bigger hard drive, it can have more games on it. Done. End of story. But now you've got to explain all the intricacies. You've almost got to be like a PC salesman.
Well, you know, Kenny, I'm not going to disagree with anything you said, except for one point, which is that Nintendo's marketing is probably committing Harry right now. I think that they have a lot. They have to shoulder a lot of this blame themselves, because they're doing a terrible job at marketing. Just awful job at marketing over the last 4 or 5 years. So at some point, you just have to say my bad and accept blame yourself. There's a lot of the marketing messages just that they should not have let happen between some of these ridiculous naming things. The Wii and the Wii U could have been marketing team. It wasn't a great name choice, but they could have dealt with that, and they decided not to. And then the DS going to the 3DS, going to the 2DS, going to the new 3DS. Marketing people should have been all over that, saying, "Yeah, let's try to tweak this name a little bit before it actually gets out on the show floor." And here we are.
See, and for lack of a better thing to compare it to, let's jump on over to the Sony platform. So you've got a failing handheld console. At least that's what most people say. It's a Vita, right? There's plenty of games for it, by the way. If you say there's no games for the Vita, you're an idiot. But there's the Vita.
There's
now,
no games for the Vita.
You're an idiot. So the Vita versus the Vita Slim. Simply, okay, so the Vita Slim, it's a little bit redesigned, some button changes. It ditches OLED for LCD, gives you a little bit longer battery life. That's about it. There's no real major differences. As a matter of fact, as an original early adopter of the Vita, I feel like I have the Cadillac model. I'm happy. As long as I'm buying an outlet, I'm happy. Now, the other thing about it that I think is interesting is the Vita launched before the PS4. Yet, what the Vita is being sold as right now is the perfect companion to the PlayStation 4. If you've got a PlayStation 4 and you've got a Vita, you've got your PlayStation 4 on the go. Now, what I'm telling you, see, because you jump back to this Amiibo or Amoeba or whatever the hell these little plastic figures are, and you're saying that you're thinking that they're doing this to include a little bit more platform parity between the Wii U and the 3DS. I think this is a perfect example of that Nintendo is scrambling right now, because even though Sony might be not doing as well as they'd like on the Vita, they had a vision. They're playing it out to fruition, and it's not entirely disjointed right now. It's actually meshing quite well given how these things released. So my question to you is this or is this not a sign that Nintendo is scrambling right now? I don't think they have a playbook that they're working out of.
No, I think that right now, actually, the Sony has almost completely abandoned the Vita. The Vita has less exclusives now than it had a month ago, and it had less exclusives a month ago than it had a month before that. If anything, they're just trying to find ways to get more of their money focused on the PS4 rather than the Vita. The Vita is basically dead man walking right now. You say it's being sold as a companion piece to the PS4. It's not being sold at all, let alone as a companion piece to the PS4. Now, that's basically the only marketing point people are using for it at this point in time. But it's nothing. They're not selling anything.
Here's the thing.
Actually, what they're looking at is that the 3DS
is exclusively a gaming console. You can't do anything else with the 3DS. Period. Well, end of story.
Okay.
With the Vita, though, you can stream from the PlayStation 4 on your Vita. So I think in that regard, you don't need to have exclusives for it. It's going to manage itself.
It's not managing itself because it's not selling. But the 3DS is actually kind of it's been out almost 4 years now, so it's starting to get to that twilight phase of its life, and I think that maybe this is Nintendo trying to find a way, since the 3DS is its big cash cow right now. I think this is them trying to find a way to extend that twilight, however it can, because that's their nest egg, that's their safety net, that's what's keeping the dollars flowing in. Sony, on the other hand, is in the exact opposite situation. They're have a brand new thing that's selling gangbusters, and their existing platform is not tanking; it is tanked. So this is them trying to get rid of the old thing that has failed and just support the new existing thing, which is the exact opposite situation that Nintendo is in. I don't think it's scrambling so much. I think it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges. Nintendo's not scrambling, but at the same time, the Vita is not in that bad of a position. The 3DS also had a bad start. It had a very bad start, and everyone thought that they were going to walk away from it.
It did.
And it recovered very, very well.
It did.
But Nintendo put a lot into it, and also, you know, the Wii U wasn't doing very well. It made a lot of sense for them to double down on the 3DS, and they did a great job. But things take time to come out, right? It takes time to develop games, and you need several of them before you actually have a successful month of releases. So let's see what happens now that the PS4 has been out for several months. Let's see what happens. I think if the Vita doesn't turn things around by middle of next year, going into the holidays next year, so one more year, I think then it's probably hosed.
Let's not forget that the Vita is only about 9 months younger than the 3DS. It's been out for several years now, and it is just not selling. Now the attach rate is fantastic, but the attach rate is not, you know, these big $40 games like the 3DS is. It's your $5 and $10 indie titles. So how many indie titles does it take to make up for the $40 quote unquote full retail release that the 3DS is selling? You know, I don't know, but the system is just not selling, and Sony, frankly, isn't not supporting it very well.
You're working off of old numbers. Okay, July 3rd, 2014, Forbes.com. We're seeing healthy consumer demand for PS Vita globally, particularly in markets like Japan, a representative told Polygon. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, the slimmer and lighter PS Vita has generated a stronger interest among gamers, and we're working to replenish supply here to ensure continued momentum leading into the holidays. Now, while that may be a little bit of pulling a Nintendo, where they only make a little bit and then they sell out and they're like, oh my gosh, they needed a good push with the Slim. I don't think that especially with the way you're talking, with the public perception of this console, they could not afford to do that idea. Look, the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, the PlayStation Vita isn't worthless without exclusives. The 3DS is. What can you do with the 3DS if it doesn't get games? The PlayStation Vita can stream from the PlayStation 4. My point, however, going back to this, is that the PS Vita is a more forwardly thinking designed console. It's still relevant in terms of what I as a consumer am able to use it for, versus this new 3DS, which is throwing a lot of new and integral components into the mix. That's all I'm saying.
All right. We're off topic.
Okay.
No. I just want to say, first of all, this is very early. We're just a week after this thing got announced, so things could change.
That it got announced again in Japan. We still don't even know if it's going to be coming on this side of the ocean.
Yeah. So I'm sure this time next year, when the new 3DS is coming out in the States, we'll have to talk about this again and see if things have changed. But I like the passion you're bringing tonight, Kenny.
Andrew is bringing some of his own passion.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, that's nothing new.
He likes your passion. Mine,
What can I say?
Well, I'll tell you what I would like to hear. Andrew, what is your final thought for the evening?
So I actually subscribed to Loot Crate this month. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this, and it was kind of nice. I get to see like some cool, nerdy, geeky kind of stuff that I wouldn't normally get for myself. I got a one of the Funko Pop vinyl bobblehead figures that was Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. It was an exclusive version of it, and I got a little Kid Robot, Ninja Turtle. It was Raphael. I actually coincidentally had Leonardo and Donatello. So now that I've got Raphael, I guess I have to get Michelangelo. And I got a few other really cool things. Those were the two highlights for me, at least personally. But I really kind of enjoyed getting it, and I think it's really kind of a neat concept of just getting kind of a mystery box that is fun stuff that I wouldn't necessarily purchase for myself. Have you guys done anything like this? Have you guys subscribed to any of these mystery boxes, loot crates, whatever they're called, any of these kind of companies before?
Nope.
I have not.
No.
I have not.
Okay. Well, I know that a lot of people are doing it. It just seems like kind of fun way to get, $20 worth of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily buy for yourself, but when it comes, it's kind of like being kind of the kid and your parents bring you home a present from work and you weren't expecting it. Like, yay, all right, fun. So I'm kind of enjoying it. I've actually got a 3-month subscription, and that was month 1. So we'll see how things go with 2 and 3 on whether or not I like it, and I'm going to end up sticking with it. But for now, it's kind of an enjoyable little surprise. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to see what comes out in month 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. The great Joe Barhome. Hey man, so what are your thoughts to end this episode tonight?
I have 2 final thoughts. The first one, if you want to make sure that your pictures on iCloud don't get leaked, sorry. There's always going to be somebody out there that's going to figure out how to hack the security of whatever is popular. That's just life. But if you really want to make sure that when those pictures leak, you don't feel like a jackass, don't take naked pictures of yourself with your fucking iPhone. Okay?
This podcast just got explicit.
I am beyond sick and tired of reading article after article headline, because I don't read articles, I just read headlines, unless it's a Geeks with Wives article. I'm tired of seeing all of these headlines of Kate Upton, nude pictures, she's embarrassed. 18-year-old Disney actress is embarrassed. Like, it's the world's fault that these people are idiots. I have 4,000 or 5,000 pictures in my iCloud. Not in one of them am I shirtless, pantless, or even sockless for that matter. You wear your clothes when you take pictures, and you won't feel like a jackass when somebody figures out how to hack it. Anyway.
You heard it here, folks. No reason to hack Joe Barhoom's iCloud now.
That's one final thought.
I don't want to be scandalous, but I'm actually sockless right now.
I'm gloveless. It's okay.
It definitely got explicit now.
So my real final thought is that if you would like to play in the vein, we're talking about Diablo here today. So here's a Diablo final thought. If you would like to play Diablo 1 on your Windows 8, Windows 7, anything newer than Windows 95 PC, here's how you do it. You take your Diablo 1 disk, if you have it, you create an ISO file, you mount the ISO file as a drive on your PC, you then install the game, and anytime you want to play it, you just make sure you've mounted the ISO file and you play it. I strongly recommend that you do this if you want to make sure that when your DVD eventually breaks, and probably Blizzard will never bring this digitally, because they haven't yet, it's been 15 years, and you still want to play it, this is how you do it. This is a big breakthrough, because up until recently, following this process, I wasn't able to play Diablo 1. Now, how much have I actually played Diablo 1? Very, very little. But it's an amazing game, and I feel like Indiana Jones, like rescuing some old ancient artifact by preserving it in an ISO file. And if you want to feel cool like Indiana Jones, I suggest you do the same. And the final thoughts.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to let Kenny go last because he brought so much passion tonight. So much. So I'm going to go real quick. Is that okay, Kenny?
You're the boss.
All right, that's right. Okay, so I am trying to make a big decision right now. I am contemplating moving from iPhone to Samsung. And it's not because I don't like my iPhone. I've had a good experience, but the fact is that it's the only smartphone I've ever used, really. And so, it's one of those things where you're like, could there be something better out there? I don't know, even though I'm having a good experience. And so I have a lot of friends that I have a friend that has Note 3, and I have some friends that have some of the Galaxy iterations of the phone. And so I am thinking about moving over to Samsung. I want to ask you guys real fast. What are you working with phone-wise?
All right, I'm gonna jump on this. So I have an iPhone 5,
Okay.
the original 5. My wife has the same model, 16 gigs, and it's simple. It's really easy to use, and the app store is for the most part pretty clean. Hard to find stuff, but it's clean. I use a variety of applications: Uber, Twitter, Skype, etc. Nothing wild or crazy, and the phone's pretty stable. Crashes once every month and a half, and it's just a quick restart. It's back up and running. It's compatible with a lot of different cars. I rent a lot of cars, and they're all kind of compatible with it, so that's nice. I will tell you, it is boring. It's extremely vanilla in the world of smartphones now, which is surprising because 3 years ago it was not vanilla, right? So that is the reason that I've been contemplating the same concern, Jeff. I'm thinking about switching to Android as well.
Yeah. And I know, Kenny, you have a Samsung.
Yeah, actually, the funny thing about this is I asked myself this same question not more than 5 months ago. And in May, I decided to throw my iPhone into a corner and pick up a Note 3. And to be honest with you, I have looked back, but I don't regret it. Not once. My wife decided to pick up the 5S. I picked up the Note 3. And I think that, again, she's had an iPhone in 2 continents since they launched the original iPhone. She was one of those people that stood in line and paid like what, $800-900 for the original iPhone, and she's had an iPhone ever since then. And she has more issues with her phone in her personal experience than I've had, and I'm the guy who made the transition. So, in my opinion, do it. Don't look back.
So, I have an iPhone 5 as well. The original 5, no C's, no S's, no letters of any kind. And personally, it's fine for me. I tend to stress the battery a lot because I listen to podcasts while I drive, which is only like 4 hours a day. So that kind of stresses out the battery, it seems to me. So I just need to get new phones kind of regularly. Maybe 5 months from now, I should be looking at getting one, since that seems to be the trajectory that everybody's going on. But for right now, I'm okay. I'm kind of embedded in the ecosystem just because I have, pages and pages worth of apps. So that kind of makes it, I'm kind of embedded in the infrastructure, at least currently.
Yeah.
So Andrew, you said you're embedded in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Is it just the apps, or do you also have iTunes Music and Movies?
Well, I'm not uploading stuff to iTunes, but I don't. It's mostly just apps. I don't do a lot of the iTunes Music. My wife does, and I don't do any movies.
So you're actually in a pretty good spot if you did want to transition, because that stuff, they're just apps, right? They're pretty much on every system. They're agnostic.
Yeah.
I will make a suggestion. I talked about this last time I was on the show. My move has been not only to the Kindle, but really to Amazon. So now I'm buying my movies and TV shows on Amazon, and there's several that my wife and I buy, TV shows and movies that we're really into. And I'm moving my catalog completely digital on Amazon. And there's some really great things that Amazon does that you don't have to have the Amazon phone, which is only on AT&T, to take advantage of. So if you have, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone, you can get the Amazon Prime app, and you can stream music, free music if you're a Prime member. All your movies you can play on any device. So there are ways to get the phone you want, but keep the ecosystem you love if your ecosystem is not Apple's or Amazon's or Google's.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. It seems to be you're not necessarily buying a device at this point. You're buying into one of these pillars that's the ecosystem. So you may be going the Kindle phone, Kindle e-read tablet, Amazon Fire TV, Amazon route, or go with the iPad, Apple TV, iPhone route, or the myriad of Android, Google devices, and whether phone or tablet or otherwise. And right now, my family is kind of straddling this line. I have the iPhone. My wife has an iPhone, but she also has a Kindle reader and Kindle tablet. And I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm starting to think about getting a tablet. So if it seems like I need to get my affairs in order with my phone before I actually get the tablet, so that way I can get some kind of cross-pollination, cross-germination, whatever going there.
So not necessarily. So I would in a similar position, right? I have a Kindle Paperwhite, which has an 11-week battery. 11 weeks, I don't have to charge it, right? It's fantastic. But it's only a book reader. It really does nothing else. And it doesn't read all books very well. So if you read books about software or software company, anything that has diagrams in it, unreadable. Unreadable. You can't zoom in, nothing like that. And I always travel with it. And I also always travel with a tablet for a variety of reasons, mostly so I can watch movies while I'm trying to fall asleep because I'm in a weird hotel or something. Or I'm on a plane, I need something to do, etc. And I thought, man, if I can just start reading my books on my tablet, then I want to take my Paperwhite with me. But I use my Paperwhite when I'm at home. I read before I go to bed, or I read when I'm out in the sun. You can read in the sun, no problem with it. There are benefits to having a dedicated reader and then a tablet. And the beauty about Amazon, what they've done is they saw that Apple has an ecosystem, and the only way to benefit is to have an iPhone. And Google has an ecosystem, and the only way to benefit is to have it's not much of an ecosystem. The only way to benefit is to have an Android device. With Amazon, you could have Amazon stuff, but not have an Amazon tablet or phone. But their hardware is exceptionally valuable. The speed or / power to money ratio is incredible. This tablet is the 32 gigabytes, and I think I paid $330 for it, something like that, or $240. I paid $240 for it. It's really not that much comparatively to other 32 gigabyte tablets, but it's insanely fast. I'll be publishing a review here in the next month. It's incredibly fast. I have a Fire TV. I also have an Apple TV. I've never had, I don't know if you guys use any of those streamers like Roku or anything to watch Netflix on the TV, but we always have problems with Netflix. And even on my PS4, I sometimes have problems with Netflix. We have not had a problem with Netflix at all with the Apple Fire TV. It's that powerful that it doesn't have any, it clocks very quickly. So things to consider, Andrew. You could actually make the leap to a different ecosystem or different hardware and kind of in any order of operations.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to hit on, Andrew, you mentioned battery life, and that is something that was an unexpected benefit. So, like I said, I have the Note 3, which is the largest phone in the world. It's phablet. And so you'd think that it certainly doesn't sacrifice display either. By the way, in a lot of respects, I feel like it looks better than the iPhone 5S, and the 5S has a smaller screen, so it should really look better. But anyways, so it's got this huge screen. I use my phone for everything. I edit spreadsheets. I send emails. I send texts. I call people. I play games. I watch movies. I watch YouTube. I look at. Hell, I've done Geeks with Wives stuff on it, right? I do Twitter on it. I do everything on my phone, and I can go for a solid business day, not charge my phone overnight, and get through the majority, if not all, of the next business day before my phone gets to 20%. Plug this in, sucker. You got a warning. My wife has the 5S. She uses hers just as extensively as I use mine. Every time she gets in the car, she plugs her phone in. And hers is brand new since May as well, so it's not like she's just got a really old phone. It's a 5S from May. This thing eats battery like a fat kid eats Twinkies. And I'm a fat kid, so I can make a fat kid joke.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So something else to consider there, Jeff. because this is really Jeff's thing, not Andrew's.
Yeah, way to make it about yourself, Andrew.
I'm sorry.
Quick
I realized about halfway through Joe's second speech that I had somehow turned this about me, and I was like, man, I feel really bad now.
No, you shouldn't, because I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one. However, I do have to remember that if I do make the switch, and when I do make the switch, I'll have to get rid of those naughty pictures that I took on my phone. So I just have to remember that. So remind me in several months. All right, Kenny, the man of the hour. What is your final thought, sir?
So I have 3 final thoughts, but they're pretty rapid fire. Are you ready?
Yes.
They're not really open for discussion. So, number 1, Andrew, I love you.
I
we
love
have
you too,
difference
Kenny.
of opinions, but
Yeah.
you're a good man.
Let me discuss this.
This is not a discussion. Number 2, you're wrong. I love you, but you're wrong. And number 3, let's end this. I want to go play Don't Starve on my Vita. That's my final thought.
Can I just say worst final thought of all time? Everyone agree?
I'll agree with that, Joe.
It doesn't matter what you agree with, Andrew, because like number 2, you're wrong. So Joe just kind of brought himself over into the you're wrong camp.
My goodness.
Podcast host, take us away.
Yes, we've come to the end of our journey. Finally, I gotta say, gentlemen, it's been fun tonight. It has. I hope we've had fun as well. Want to go around real quick and let you guys give your Twitter handles. Andrew Barton, we can find you
At ACBarton08.
Awesome. Joe, where can we find you at?
At Joe Barhoum, JoeBarhoum.
And Mr. Newville, where can we find you at, sir?
At Ken Newville or at www.andrewswrong.com.
I'm going to that URL right now.
Actually, don't go there. If you go there and it's all of Joe's naked iCloud pics, it's not my fault.
AndrewIsWrong.com.
It definitely got explicit. Okay. And you can find me at Gentle Jeffrey on Twitter. You can also follow us at Geeks with Wives on Twitter. This is a weekly podcast. You can catch us at 8 p.m. Pacific time every Tuesday, and you can also download the podcast as an MP3 every Friday. And definitely go to geekswithwives.com. We've got a lot of content up there. I have to plug myself real fast. I just wrote my experience with PlayStation Now, and there's some good, there's some bad. So would appreciate it if you read it. And while you're there, check out all of the other great content. We've got comic reviews, video game reviews. We've got it all. So we definitely appreciate you listening to the show tonight, and we will see you next week. Bye.